Hi everyone, I'm a little bit late, sorry for that, I had a little problem connecting. So welcome, this is the second series of Instagram Live for AINB. We have done a first interview last week, which was Christophe Ternest, Belgium interior designer. The interview was made by Florence de Walle. This is part of the life space concept, which is basically a series of interviews where we are connecting people, trying to share experiences, share know-how, share specialists in all sorts of fields around and within the interior design realm. So welcome. Today we're going to be joined in a bit by Benjamin Vande Velde. So Benjamin is a specialist in lighting, and that will be the topic of today. Maybe I'll first give a little bit more context to some of you concerning AINB, so Interior Designers Association of Belgium. It's an association that exists already for quite a while. The reason and the existence of this association is to promote interior design, to help interior designers connecting, like I said, sharing knowledge, also helping both students and newly promoted interior architects to start on with their professional life. So we organize different kinds of events in order to give support, context, and create relations, and also help out in terms of administrative issues, technical questions. So this is one of our most recent installments, and today's topic is light. Now, it's a very broad subject. We will be particularly discussing today with Benjamin the more technical approach to lighting. We hope to, in the future, to organize another interview, but more into the concept part. So how to design, what are the processes that can really lead you into creating a more qualitative project. And today we're going to analyze the more technical aspect, or there's quite a few different ones that will be talked about today. So I will be calling Benjamin. Hopefully he's waiting for my call. There we go. And let's see if this works. And yes, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. Hi, Benjamin. Welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody.
I was just telling everybody that they are welcome to ask any questions. Of course, we will see them coming over, and hopefully we'll be able to reply.
Okay, perfect.
So, Benjamin, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. Thank you. I'm doing fine. It's quiet today. Everybody's working from home. I'm the only one staying in the office, so everything's fine. Friday, so I'm happy.
Perfect. So maybe let's give a little bit insight on who you are, Ledealight.
Yes. So hello, everybody. So my name is Benjamin. We have founded Ledealight a few years ago, starting from scratch and without knowledge of lighting, without knowledge of architecture, without any knowledge about these topics. We just wanted to start on the LED side because it was like a big opportunity for the coming years, which was which finally became true. So we started, and we started distributing LEDs, and And basically, we learned by ourselves, going to fairs, lighting events, seeing architects, etc. And now we are happy that we have a team of 8 people passionate about lighting design, comfort, lighting technology, etc., etc. And we do work with architects, specifiers, interior designers, etc., to enlighten your projects. Basically, that's what we do.
You mentioned architects and interior designers. Do you see any difference in the collaboration that you have with one or another?
Yes. When we speak with first specifiers like engineer offices, we mainly discuss about the comfort of lighting. We discuss about the norms, the regulations we have to respect when we do a project. When we work with lighting designer or interior designers, like NCBAM, for instance, the approach is quite different, because we need to know what you guys want to see as result, and we try to translate your expectations into lighting solutions and lighting concepts. Architects are not so focused into the interior lighting part. It's mostly like, okay, we have to have lighting, but it's not as important as for interior designers.
I guess that's because the mood and the mood that we are researching in an interior can be very specific, and therefore, when we are conceptualizing the space, even though we don't necessarily know exactly what we want as a lighting fixture, we already have a mood in mind and an ambience in mind. So exactly. Maybe we could talk about what are the fundamental aspects of artificial light in interiors. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, for example, about intensity, brightness, darkness, which you might want to have in a project.
Yep.
How do you define this in lighting?
Basically, we try to, when we do a project, we try to think about 3 types of lighting. The first being the ambient lighting, so having enough general light to be able to do what needs to be done in the space, be it a restaurant, a hotel, a shop, a museum, offices, etc. So the minimum light level which is required to have a good ambience, or the required ambience. Then we have task light. That's the second layer of lighting. For offices, obviously, it's enough light to be able to write, to read, to be comfortable, etc. And then we have accent light, so to be able to emphasize architecture, to emphasize art, objects, anything. So these 3 layers are always being discussed and are fundamental when we start a project. So that's really something which is important, and the way we design the lighting concept will help to shape your project, to give life to your project. So it's really important that we know which ambience you want to reach, and then we try to translate it into yes. Lighting.
Yes. Maybe another aspect which would be nice to have your comment on is the talk about mood. Mood can be decided by several things. It can be accents, like you say, but also temperature of lighting. So color, not necessarily color in terms of red or blue, but the warmth. How do you translate this into technically into the choice that you make, or that you propose? I would say that.
Yeah, indeed, lighting is impacting human beings quite significantly. I mean, we do need light for everything what we do. We are human beings, we are animals, so we need a lot of light, especially daylight. So when you want to reach a certain comfort level, we play with 2 things: either the quantity of light So we need to be able to have a lighting system which enables us to make different scenarios. And then we have the color of light indeed. So we tend to use blue light, cold light, when you want to be awake, when you want to work, when you want to be very fit and focused, and to use more relaxed atmosphere with warm, really almost orange lighting. And in between, we can jump during the day or during the mood, the ambience, if you want creativity, or you can change. And this is great with LEDs because everything's possible now. In the same lighting fixture, you can really have, you can decide to go to cold to very warm and little light or more light. So this is really something which is great with LED lighting.
Mm-hmm. There was a comment from trying not to lose my phone here. There's a comment from one of the architects we have connected, saying that the lighting fixtures for them are not that important. They're indeed more interested in the light they produce. This fixture produce.
Exactly.
Of course, this has to do with the identity too, and for that, design of the lighting can have an impact. But indeed, the quality and what you were describing as the warmth or the coolness that you want to inflict in overall in the interior design. This is the kind of tools that architects or interior architects need to know about in order also to describe to people like you what they are searching in a mood.
Yeah, the thing is, indeed, for interior designers, the lighting fixture in itself is not important. I mean, the design of the fixture, we don't really. A good lighting scheme is when you don't see the luminaires. You have to hide the sources. This is really not the topic about technical lighting. This is more like design lighting luminaires when you want to have nice suspensions, etc. This is not really our focus, but indeed the quality of light, the quantity of light, and the beams we are going to use are going to make the difference on your projects. And that's why it's really important for us to know how you want to see the atmosphere, to understand what's the final objective of the interior designer, to be able to provide the right beam, the right quantity of light, and just light where it's needed. Not too much, not too limited.
Okay. What does it define to you a successful collaboration with a designer? Experiences that you have, because I guess you meet all sorts of designers. Some might have a very precise view of what they want. They don't have maybe the technique, the knowledge of all the possibilities that there are in terms of equipment, in terms of fixtures. But probably you encounter those who have no idea, and they basically give you the keys of the car to decide what you want. So what do you feel it's really works best, or where you can get the best results?
The best results are it's when we start working with the interior architects or anybody at the very beginning of the project. For us, it's really important that we understand where you guys want to go, because we really are at your service. We are not the guy thinking all the space, so we need to understand really what atmosphere you want, what design you want, how it's going to be all the supplies, the tables, everything. I mean, we need to know all of this. So we need to be involved in the very beginning of the project. Even if it's going to change, we prefer to make different lighting schemes, but understanding what you really want, compared to having really at the really end just supplying a luminaire. That's really important. And then second, when showing you guys the different type of lightings, because sometimes it might be abstract. If we speak about glare, if we speak about beam, if we speak about color rendering, etc., for people not knowing it might be, something you can feel and touch. So we need to see each other. We need to show you, to go in the dark room and show different types of luminaires and beams. and then you will have a better understanding of what's qualitative lighting, and then you will be able to translate your wishes in a better technical way. So that's really for us the key, the success factor is to start together in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And what are then still in this collaboration? What are the difficulties that you often encounter?
Often we, if you guys don't really understand the difference between lighting fixtures, you might just say, "Oh, I just need a few spots here and there. It's going to be fine," and then we don't look at the techniques. We just sometimes look at the budget, and starting from the budget perspective is with something which is really dangerous, because then you can't. It's not about having a high budget. It's first having the right product, and then trying to find the right solution. And what we feel is really dangerous is when we don't speak to each other, and you just ask at the end of the project, okay, propose a few fixtures with the drawing, and we have to feel it. I mean, it's about feeling and understanding each other.
There's Franz Pipers who's saying that the problem about choosing the light fixtures is that you might not know, if I understand well the question, what you exactly want until very late in the process of the project. So he's wondering if you shouldn't have a lighting expert in your team.
Ideally, yes. Ideally, it would be great if you have a team of like, I don't know, like 8-10 people or more. Having one person which is a bit focused on lighting, who takes care of lighting, who's reading about lighting, who's going to the different events and fairs, etc., is really helpful, because he will be able to support the whole team on each and every project. But if you don't have this, I mean, don't hesitate to contact people like us or lighting designers. They will be happy to work together with you at the very beginning, even if it's a bit time consuming in the beginning. Sorry, I think it's worth it, because in the end you will really you won't be able to make the right choices, I think, if you wait till the end of the project.
Absolutely.
If it's the question, and there are some basic things where we provide trainings to teams. So, and it's not like linked to a brand. It's just about lighting.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's a fantastic idea that you provide training, because there is no official, from what I know, light design course in Belgium. You have to go to France or to England to have a specialized course. But for sure, maybe one thing that I think precedes the orientation for the choice of the fixtures is really, as a designer, what do you want to do with the lighting, and this should happen, I guess, as more or less at the same time as the project comes clearer to you. And for this, we need to communicate with professionals like you. So, what are the tools to communicate this? How can we make sure that what we have in mind, you are able to receive it in a clear language that you understand? Is it drawings? Is it schemes? What do you suggest?
The material we need to be able to work on the project, first is speaking together. I think it's really having a discussion about the project, the context, etc. That's really the first thing. I mean, if we don't speak, we don't get the details. Second, of course, schemes, 3D, SketchUp, anything you might have which are visuals, because we are not with you at your customer place, so we don't have the complete picture. So I mean, so having as much information about the complete project is really key for us. And then, of course, when you start working, having AutoCAD files, DBG files, where we can just start working. And then we provide you with light calculation, lighting schemes, renders in Dialux, Relux, or other software, and that we can just compare with what you have in mind, and then we just go on like this.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I think 3D sketches and renders are really, really important.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
So
it's too abstract, you know.
it's too abstract, exactly. So basically, we as designers have to take the time to produce a sort of a cahier de charge, but of intent, a design intent.
Yes.
That doesn't mean a very complicated document. As I said, maybe it's a scheme, but it should be clear enough for you, understandable, so that you can start your work in the right path and you know, not come up with solutions that are, you know, the opposite of what the designer wants, because maybe the information was not well laid out at first.
The thing is, but if we have the renders and the concept you have in mind, we can either challenge it, provide different ideas, and then once the lighting ideas are defined, we just start working. I mean, that's the second part of the process. So the more information we get from you, the best.
Mm-hmm.
And especially for our designers in-house, we have the guys doing the lighting calculations. If they don't have this information, it's as if anybody would ask you, just draw me something, but they don't provide you a little bit of information about what they have in mind. It's the same for us, basically.
Indeed.
Exactly the same.
Indeed. There's Catherine Lutens who is giving some interesting information here. KU11 Lab is organizing courses for interior designers. They seem to be tailor-made. Very interesting, something I was not aware, and definitely needed for in our line of work. You were in your when we started the conversation, you were talking about how you started off with the LED. For sure, LED has taken the world by storm in an incredible quick pace. Before, we used to work with a lot of different sources. Each source had its own advantages and disadvantages, so very specific functionalities. Maybe you can give us a brief explanation today of what are the main LED families and what are their the functionalities, let's say, or the specifics.
Okay, I would say today for indoor applications or for interior designers, mostly we will have SMD LEDs and COB LEDs. SMD LEDs are these kind of very tiny LEDs that we mostly use in line LEDs, strip lights, for cove lighting, for under shelf lighting, etc., etc. That can integrate almost anywhere in your project. Don't use it too much, but you can use it. It's really a great technology, but it's not providing always enough light to be able to enlight a space. So it's more like underlining architectural aspects of the project. Then you have COB chip on board. It's like a big power of LED, where we can have a lot of light coming out of it. So this is just great. You can have a very good beam if you have a good reflector or a good lens. So the shape of the light is very good. The efficiency is good. But be careful about the glare. Because LEDs are so tiny and providing so much light, often what people see when they don't take care of lighting is that in the end it's very glary. It's like too much luminance, and it might be a discomfort for people. So if you don't choose the item wisely, if you don't have a good dimming system, you might end up with a bad solution. But it's not about the technology. So these are really the two different aspects about LEDs today indoor. Of course, you can have any color you want. So the time when LEDs were cold and blue, etc., that's totally over, like 100% over. You can have very little light, you can have a lot of light. All the LEDs are dimmable, because a lot of people in the beginning of the LED world, dimming was quite complicated. We had this kind of flickering, you were like, this was really like crazy annoying. When you were in the restaurant and it's like a blah, 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 not ideal. So now this is really over. We have a perfect dimming up to, I think, the best drivers go to 0.1% dimming. So that's really a lot of light, just enough. It's really very low, which is useful for restaurants, hotels, museums, etc. You now have all the dimming systems with the LED, which are Bluetooth, with your mobile apps, wireless. Everything is possible now. You could even design any luminaire. That's also a nice part of LEDs. It's so tiny, it's so powerful that you guys can design anything, and we can just do it.
Are there other light sources that are already well installed in the market, or that are coming, that you feel that will be a very important evolution?
No, now we have the OLED, organic LED, but it's not something which will be available soon for standard applications. It's like mostly here and there a bit of OLED. It's nice. It's like paper. You can play with it, but it's quite expensive. It's not giving a lot of light. So today it's really the LED which is the best. In terms of efficiency, we are really high now, about almost 200 lumen for 1 watt. When we started at Ledealight, we were around 80, 90 lumen per watt. So that's of the LEDs, not the luminaire, because you have to take care about the efficiency of the LED and the efficiency of the luminaire itself. So today it's really about LED. Now we've reached the highest efficiency of the LEDs. So what's happening on the market? We go towards higher quality, so better rendering, higher comfort, less glare, etc. So now for a few years, it's really like everybody on the market was saying, okay, I need a lot of light. Now we have a lot of light. Now it's like, okay, use it wisely, and we tend to increase the quality of the light.
Indeed. You talked about color rendering earlier on. This was a problem in the beginning of LEDs. Is it still a problem today? Is it because there are LEDs with a really high quality of the capability to render the color? Are they still very expensive?
No. In the past, LEDs tend to be quite either bluish, like cold, white, big blue, which was really the issue in the beginning, either quite pink. It was really like going to the red. It's because there was not like a perfect use of the different phosphors on the LEDs. But now we can have excellent light quality. Like you measure the rendering compared to the sunlight, to daylight, out of 0 to 100, 80 being the standard on the market for any lighting technology. 80 is okay, it's good for offices. 90 plus, it's good for shops, for restaurants, and for art galleries and museums, like 95 plus. But so we can reach it. That's really not an issue with LEDs. It's mostly the higher you go, the higher the price, and the lower the efficiency. So it's just a little bit less efficient. It's a bit more expensive. But the really important thing is that you have to have producers who are working with the right binning. The binning means that between different LEDs, in one luminaire or one batch, you will always have the same color. That's what's really, and it's still a big issue on the market, is that when you go cheap, you will end up having, if you have 100 spots, you will have all different colors. And that's the binning of the LEDs. So you have to be sure that there's a good measurement of the binning, and especially when you have a big project or a project in different phases. Because if you buy a LED today and you're willing to extend an office, for instance, in 2 years' time, you will be happy to have the same light and not having like here and there different lights. That's the binning of the LEDs. And all these details are making the difference in I would say, entry level or cheap products and higher quality items.
Maybe coming back to the RC, the color rendering. Maybe you can explain to some of us why we should be or when we should be worried about using a high quality or one with a high index of color rendering in a project, for example, and when we shouldn't maybe focus on this and keep a lower budget for lighting.
First, the price difference is not like 1 to 2. It's maybe 15-20% extra, but that's not like crazy expensive. But I mean, it depends if you go for a complete building and all the luminaires in I don't know, 4,000 luminaires in an office. I mean, you don't really need to have the best rendering. It's not going to change my way I'm working on my computer because 80 is good enough. Most of the people will not even see it, or most of the people will not say I prefer 90 compared to 80. Because it's not only the rendering, but you can also have an impact on the type of colors, like having a better renderer on the white, or unfortunately some people cheat on the reds. When you go to the butcher, for instance, or to Deleuze, you might have some extra pink food, meat. So it depends on the situation, but I would say for standard offices, 80 is good. Over 90 is not really useful. But if you have an entrance, a lounge zone with a lot of colors, then you will be happy to perfectly see the different colors and to have vivid colors. Then so it's mostly depending on your project.
So if we have, for example, a particular fabric, work of art, if you there's obviously some places that you really want to have to make sure that the color rendering respects as much as possible.
Exactly. So shops, you need the best rendering. Museums, art galleries, of course, you need the best render. And food. When you go to, if you have food with a bad render, you just don't want to eat it. So you have to have a good render and a lot of light. That's really important. For just offices, I mean, don't make it more. It's not needed, and certainly not for industry, etc. It's not,
maybe design offices will appreciate it.
Okay.
So, texture in light.
Yes.
We use texture, this term for lighting, when you want to reveal. When you want to reveal texture, for example, in a wall, if you have worked, for example, as a certain material over it, and you want to make sure that the granularity comes out, that you really see it. What kind of light are you going to use for this? What kind of positioning? How do you treat these kind of particularities?
The way you're lighting the angle is really important. If you light from upside down, I mean from top to down, like 90 degrees, you will have a really flat lighting, no shadows. Everything will be lighted uniformly. If you light too much with an angle, then you have big shadows. So it really depends what you want to have. If you want to do wall washing, for instance, and you have some fabrics on the wall and you want to show it, then it's nice to have nice wall washing effect. We will emphasize all the little structures and of the wall. So it depends what you want to see. But too much uniformity will just make everything flat. So it will not emphasize your project. So that's why we tend to have these three types of lighting in each project: the ambient, task, and accent lighting. And accent light will make these fabrics, reveal them.
If I compare to previous light sources, like you had TL lighting, compared to normal spotlights, spotlights would reveal texture in a much nicer way. Indeed, the TL lighting was very flat. Do you have that kind of difference in LED sources?
Yes. This is really, it's not really about the LED source. It's really about the optics we're using. LED tube, fluo compact tube, T8, T5. Previously, it's like a cylinder shining 360 degrees. So of course, I mean, there is no accent because it's just shining all the way. LEDs, it's shining in one direction, 180 degrees, and then you can decide either you go narrow, either you go wide. The more narrow you go, the more accent you have. And because the quantity of light is in such a small surface, we can do both. You can design a luminaire with a very narrow beam, and exactly the same luminaire can have a wider reflector, a different lens, asymmetric lens, which is really nice for wall washing, and then you can really decide. So everything is possible now.
So basically, in a way, LEDs have filled the gaps of the deficiencies. Let's say what was not working for some of the light sources.
Exactly, and even more because they can do both general lighting in offices. They can do both spotlights. They can do all the types of color rendering. They can do RGB. You can do light shows with the same luminaires for a facade, for instance, which was not possible 10 years ago with the previous technologies, which needed like 5 minutes to warm up. Now LEDs, it's straight 100% of the light. So you can, it's really without any limits.
Excellent. We're going to take one question. We have a bit more than 5 minutes to go. If I'm able to.
There was a concern about the ecology I was seeing.
Yes, exactly. From that we saw last year. Which I salute, by the way.
Well, is there a concern about ecology? Some yes, some no. Like everybody in each and every business, I think. We do, personally, about Ledealight, we tend to be concerned. So most of our products come from Europe, Spain, Italy, Portugal, and partly from South Korea. We tend to, the good part of LEDs is that you can reuse almost all the luminaire. So basically, a LED luminaire is about aluminium to cool down the LED, a diffuser, so mostly plastic that you can reuse. And then you have the LEDs, indeed, that's the bad part of it, that you cannot really reuse. But you can change the LED itself, so you don't have to throw away your luminaire would something happen. So this is also something we try to take into account, is to always have the availability or the possibility to change the LED, so people don't have to throw away their luminaires within 5-10 years time. Of course, we don't know how the world is going to be in 5 years time, but now there is a norm. In the beginning, it was like a nightmare. If a luminaire was defect, it's first very complicated to get the same one, the same light, the same binning, and you had to throw it away. But now, I would say the good producers are taking their responsibility and try to reuse. We have one producer who is taking the luminaire back, removing everything themselves, putting them back, and sending back to you. So we try to recycle the more we can.
Yeah, excellent. This is very important, of course, for us, because indeed everything that we prescribe and is built, it has a life expectancy, and then you have to think about where those
in LED pain point or the faulty part of the luminaire will almost always be the driver. So please, in your project, take into account that at one time the driver will break down because it's electronics. It's like your mobile phone. It's like anything. At one time, it's gonna break down. So the LED itself, there's a few chances it's gonna break. I mean, it's almost impossible. But the driver, please take care. They should be accessible. So don't hide them somewhere in the ceiling. I mean, really take care of this.
You have a special relation with Korea. How did that come by?
That's pretty. When we started working with Chinese people. I have nothing against China, but it was quite complicated for a small player to work with China. A lot of pressure on the volumes. We had to sell, nothing tailor-made, etc. And also the design was not really what we were looking for. And then we when you start going to fairs, etc., you just see companies, and in the beginning of the LEDs, European players were quite reluctant about LED. It was, historically, they were happy to keep their good old halogen lamps, and they were not go to game changers. Of course, Korea is just the opposite. Korea is about technology. It's about, LG or computer screens, mobile phone. I mean, name it. They're just number one for a lot of technology aspects. And also for LED. So they're a big producer of LEDs. And all the manufacturers there were very fast going on the market. But compared to the Chinese, they were more with a Occidental perspective. So we could have small volumes with tailor-made solutions, with nice designs, etc. And so, we started working with them. And basically, we were happy to work with Korean people because it's more fluent and more easygoing people compared to, out of my experience, Chinese people. At least for small companies like medium-sized companies.
And they obviously do these amazing beauty masks that you showed me.
I will ship you a box of beauty masks because I can see you're a bit white these days.
Talking about masks, I heard from a colleague that thanks to your contacts, you were able to import quite a large sum of masks for the doctors here during this COVID session. So that's congratulations for that.
Thank you.
It's amazing how this the things you build with time, connections you build time, you never know how it can be helpful. And it certainly has been so.
Yeah, it was really funny because in the beginning of this COVID situation, I have some friends which are doctors, and I mean they just didn't have any masks, which was a bit crazy. And one of our previous suppliers in China was really feeling really bad about this situation because obviously it's coming from China, this virus. I don't know how, but that's not the point. So they feel a bit responsible for this, and they just offered to support. And so we bought masks for the doctors here in Belgium that we shipped. It's a really tiny thing, but at least we're helping.
Yeah, it's not so tiny, and everybody contributing makes a big difference.
Yep, that's right.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for this time with us. It was very interesting.
Okay.
I will see you soon. If there's any more question you would like to answer to our viewers.
I was just checking. I think Catherine has a question about lighting control. I don't know what the question is really about, but about lighting control, we have a lot of things today. You can go Bluetooth, you can go Wi-Fi, you can go DALI, which is the mostly known and used interface in Europe, digital addressable lighting interface. So you can light each and every light luminary separately, making scenes, making groups, making everything you want. colors, going from cold white to warm white. And then there is something new coming on the market, which is centralized drivers. So instead of having each and every light with one driver, you separate them. You only have the lighting fixture, and you have the drivers together with the IT patch rack. This is really something new, which is much better for the maintenance. That's making a big difference now, and also it enables you to have your building future-proof, because the Li-Fi is coming on the market in a few years' time. It's Internet over Light. So instead of having Wi-Fi, it's going to be Li-Fi. You get a message, Mauro. It's time for beer.
Yes, I know how to stop that. Sorry.
So Li-Fi, it's gonna happen, and these centralized drivers with our G45 cables are the future. But that's not really something I think interior designers are into. It's mostly for engineers, etc. But if needed, you can always contact them.
Okay. All right. So that makes it for today. I will first of all thank you, Benjamin, for your time. It's been really nice talking to you. I will maybe just again, for those who came a bit later, these interviews are part of what we call Live Space. We will be doing every week one interview. This week was a specialist, light specialist as Benjamin. Next week, it's a Meet a Designer interview. Will be Florence de Walle will be interviewing Eric Duterne. And the week after, it will be again a specialist. So this will be an ongoing conversation about sharing information and knowledge. And I hope you liked it. And I hope to see you again next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Perfect.
Goodbye, Benjamin.
Thanks, Mauro, for this opportunity, and see you later.
Nice to see you. Take care.
Bye. I don't know how I have to shut down like this. Hop. Quitter.